Hey everybody, Omar here, your Edge of South Africa host, and I am back with another fun-filled video for you. And a lot of you guys are probably wondering, why does Omar have a ZT on the table? Well, this video is pretty much about where do I go once I go from production to custom, because a lot of us have these really good and awesome high quality production knives like this CT. This one I actually had sort of customed out with the carbon fiber scale there, and the ice blue screws, and backspacer and pivot. Just to sort of give it a little flavor. For many of you guys that are not ready to step up, this is probably where you're at, where you just take, you take your regular production knife and you kind of jazz it up and, give it some aesthetics. And why not, right? It's already got all the good tolerances that we're looking for. It's nice and smooth. I'm pretty happy, right? Why would I want to step up? Well, that kind of begs the question, can knives be any better than a really good high-quality production? The answer to that question is yeah, it can. Once you get past all of the excitement of production knives, most people will just go straight into customs, or they'll go into something like this, which is Chris Reeve. With Chris Reeve, you get even tighter tolerances than you would with production knives, because he does give it that special attention that's needed to sort of step up your game to go from this to this. Chris Reeve does actually beat the tolerances of a regular good production knife. It can get better, and he does do it with CNC machining, but the difference, obviously, is price. This knife here is $240, and this knife is over 500, 550 actually, for a Chris Reeve knife. And you're kind of wondering, am I really ready to do this? You know what I mean? So, again, we have two knives here on the table. Both of them are made, well, technically, this one's made, both of these are sort of made on an assembly line, but really this one's a little bit more, not necessarily an assembly line, but there are fewer people putting this knife together and then putting it through the CNC machining process than this one. But I'm going to go ahead and put this away just to kind of change it up a little bit. So, like I said, most of us are right about here when it comes to knife buying. We're sort of like fumbling around, should I spend $240 for a knife or $185? But you never really seem to go over that edge. And it really doesn't have anything to do with money, so much as it's time for you to see something different. And seeing something different usually means, for most of us, I know for me anyway, while Chris Reeve is not really considered a custom knife, he is considered a very, very high tolerance knife, where the tolerances are much tighter than they would be in a normal production process, just because of Chris Reeve himself. He was the man that stands behind all of his products. Obviously now his son does. And so you're getting a much more, you are getting tighter tolerances with Chris Reeve knives, and you're getting extra, in a sense that everybody knows that the zero tolerance 240, the aesthetics are limited, right? I mean, you're not going to get all these really cool ice blue screws and the pivot and the backspacer and all that stuff. Even the disc here for the over travel stop right here, you're not going to get that in blue. Basically, it just comes in all black carbon fiber and regular silver screws. After a while, that kind of gets boring, so hence Chris Reeve. Now you've got all the tolerances and even better tolerances of this knife here with the inlays, these sort of beautiful kind of inlays, not just inlay on one side, but on both sides of the knife. And you get just as great tolerances. I mean, Chris Reeve, while this knife is on washers and this knife is on ball bearings, this knife is just as smooth. So you have to kind of think, am I ready to spend this kind of money? I mean, what am I getting if I spend this kind of money on a knife? Well, think about it. With zero tolerance, if something goes wrong with my knife, can I go ahead and take it back to ZT and tell them, can you please fix it because it's not working properly? No. The warranty on zero tolerance knives are limited, as well as all production knives. Whether it's CRKT or ZT or Kershaw, their warranty is limited, so there's only so much that can be done on it. Whereas Chris Reeve, his knives are covered pretty much for life. You take it in and you get what's called a spa treatment. They'll basically clean up your knife and get it to look completely brand spanking new, so you don't have to worry about it being being all messed up, because they are going to completely rejuvenate the knife and practically make it brand new. Now, maybe you get yourself a Chris Reeve knife and it's not quite what you thought. I mean, I'm sure there's some people out there that were not happy with Chris Reeve. I can't imagine that. But, it does happen. Maybe this was not the custom, the experience that they wanted. If you're looking to maybe forget about Chris Reeve, I mean, you could do that if you wanted to. And maybe you're looking for something a little bit more fancier, which is the purpose of my video. And I'm going to bring out all these knives right now. Any one of these knives that are here on the table, I highly recommend as your first custom. Yeah. So you're getting incredibly tight tolerances with all of these knives here. Just as tight. And they're custom, meaning all of these that are on the table, these guys are one-of-a-kind, handmade. Well, all of them are. All four of these are one-of-a-kind handmade knives. This one is a CNC machine knife, but yet it's also made by one guy. So you're getting extra special attention. Now, the price for these knives, and this is probably the first time I'm ever going to shout out prices for all these knives, for any custom. It's way up there, okay? But you're getting a level of customer service with each one of these makers that is unsurpassed. Way more unsurpassed than by any regular production company, even more so than, say, Chris Reeve. And Chris Reeve has an excellent customer service policy. These guys are even way better. And plus, let's take a look at some of these knives. This knife here is made by Trevor Berger. Okay. Do you guys see how this kind of reminds you of this? So let's say you're looking to get your very first custom, and you don't know anything about materials, you don't know anything about the knife maker, you're only going to buy by eye, right? I mean, these two knives, they look somewhat similar, don't they? At least they resemble a knife. And this is one of the points that I wanted to make is you're going to want to start out with something basic, because there's no way in the world you're going to be ready for something like this, because you're looking at it and thinking it's nice, but it's probably not my taste. I mean, you don't even know what this material is, and yet the price for this knife is the price for this knife was right around $1,200 for this one. But you know what I mean? You're not going to spend that kind of money, well, even though it has just as much of a tight tolerance as Chris Reeve. Very few people are going to spend this kind of money if they're not quite understanding what they're buying, because there's a lot to talk about on this knife. But there's a good chance that you're not quite ready for something like this. You actually have to move your way up into customs to understand what you're buying. However, you can still buy a custom, a high-end custom like this. This one was, I believe, $950. Now, I'm talking about people that are just literally ready to go and pull out a credit card and just buy one good custom. There's no guarantee that you'll get hooked, but you will definitely be happy with your purchase. And, you know, since I got into customs, I don't go back to this anymore. I mean, it's just a matter of fact. I won't go back, even though I've kept this knife and this is a user. I don't ever go back to regular production knives. You know, I'm just not there anymore. My level of knife collecting has led me to other areas where I need to be satisfied even more. But in any case, Trevor Burger, I recommend Trevor Burger because a couple of reasons. Number one, choices. Okay, he makes a variety of knives that are just absolutely amazing. And he makes liner lock knives and frame lock knives. This is a Lux K. So if you're, and obviously, again, a front flipper might be something that you're going to have to learn how to get into. But there's also a good chance that you run into the concept of a front flipper with production knives. I mean, they do make front flippers, in production. I can't think of one offhand. I can't even think of one front flipper in production because I've been out of it for a while. But yeah. He makes frame locks as well as liner lock knives, and the tolerances on both these knives are absolutely amazing. You're going to be, once you buy your very first custom, especially one like this, okay, that's $950, you're going to feel the difference. First of all, the action is going to really blow your mind, okay? You see, I mean, versus, which is good, this is good, right? Versus this, that's pretty smooth. But this is a whole other category. I mean, and you're getting a really beautiful piece. You're getting full-on carbon fiber scale, blue titanium bolster there on both sides of the knife, a milled pocket clip. Maybe a lot of you guys may have never even seen one of these before, because what do you get with ZT? You just get that. You know what I mean? Which is a good functioning clip, but again, we have to understand we're looking at two totally different things. This is a tool, a high quality tool. This is a custom art knife, or the beginnings of a custom art knife. It's pretty basic, right? I mean, but yet it's still a custom. This knife is no less of a custom than this one, which is much wilder looking. And yet the tolerances on both these knives, I mean, you're gonna have to look at them individually, but they're pretty much in the same range. You know what I mean? They're both the same. This one's made by Des Horn, who's literally a knife, who's more into art knives than actually, he's kind of crossed over that bar as from being just a tool into being an actual art knife, and all of his knives look like this. But yeah, if you're looking to get your first custom, I highly recommend Trevor Burger, just because he can make a good frame lock knife and a good liner lock knife. Another guy I recommend is Kosi Steenkamp. You get a lot with this, and his knives are just as smooth. The materials that you're able to get on a custom knife is completely unsurpassed. You do have to, and that's the thing. Each knife that you buy, each custom knife that you buy is a learning experience, because all the knives on this table look completely different. They all have different materials on it, so you're getting really awesome tight tolerances with each of these knives, even tighter than with, say, zero tolerance. And you're getting amazing aesthetics with some help of some really creative materials that are being put to good use. And I've done videos on all these knives, but I mean, the aesthetics on some of these are really just absolutely fantastic. You may even be overwhelmed at times when it comes to getting a custom, but Cosi Steenkamp is another one that I recommend. And the experience of getting your own custom, you can go on Instagram at any time. You can chat with these guys, the guys that make the knives by hand, these one-of-a-kind handmade pieces. You can talk with these guys. They will build something for you to your liking. You know, if you've never even bought a custom, they could certainly suggest something that wouldn't be so over the top that you wouldn't understand what it is that you'd be buying. Because you want to go, you can't just go from 0 to 100 right away. Buying customs, believe it or not, yes, we're spending a ton of money, right? But it's a learning process. Each time you buy a knife, it's a learning process. And I did that on my last video where I explained all the stuff that I learned from buying each particular custom. This knife here is another one I recommend. Because this knife is actually made by two guys, not one. This knife is made by Andre Van Heerden and Andre Thorburn. They're a two-man team, and they make a line of knives called A2. And these knives are absolutely amazing. And if you notice, this knife looks more like a production knife in a sense. I mean, it's not so, in other words, you don't see two-tone. You know what I mean? You don't see red and you don't see white and, all these different, it's just one freaking material all the way across the board. But it's awesome, though. And you're still getting a milled pocket clip, right? Still getting that. Titanium, by the way. And again, the tolerances, the smoothness. Really nice with a touch of zirconium for the pivot on that. So, when it comes to the materials, when you buy a knife, you want to start out simple. Like I said, this just has carbon fiber and zirconium. So now you've learned about those two materials. Maybe all the knives that you get next will be more with like zirconium and carbon fiber on them. It's a process. The last knife that I recommend, and I've been kind of pushing this guy over the top because he's a friend, and I talk to this guy quite a bit. Clyde Challenor. Let me put this away. He is really, out of all the guys on the table, Andre Van Heerden, Andre Thorburn, Cosi Steenkamp, Trevor Berger. I don't know of any other knife maker other than Clyde Challenor that's got so much passion for what he does as a knife maker, that he kind of became the, I guess, he's kind of like all alone by himself because he does CNC machining, and I've talked about this before, but that, he is still a detail made by hand guy, even though the knives themselves are made with CNC machining. But I highly recommend Clyde Challenor as one of your first customs, because he will give you the full-blown experience when you buy a knife with him. When he talks with me on the when we do a FaceTime chat, I don't doubt that he would do that for any customer, not just me. Because he really does care about what he does. He has when he talks about knives, his eyes pretty much light up. But with this knife, you're getting the full-blown on pattern. You're getting, the full-blown one-of-a-kind pattern on both sides of the knife. You're getting these special custom screws that look like you need a special tool to open the knife, and actually you don't. You just need a flathead screwdriver. So he was originally a collector, and then he became a a knife maker. And he also does liner locks as well, like these guys do, like Kosi Steenkamp does. He does that by special request. But the level of customer service is unsurpassed with Clyde Challenor. And so if you need more information on getting your first custom, I think you should definitely go with Clyde, because he'll definitely educate you in a way, so you get your, you can order your custom, and then you'll get you'll get that special attention that you probably would not even be used to. So in any case, I don't know if this video was helpful or not. I didn't do anything more than ramble on. But yeah, these are the guys that I recommend if you bought way too many custom production knives by now, and you feel like maybe your knife collecting isn't going anywhere. Because to be honest with you, I really believe that if you don't if you don't move into customs, eventually you'll get bored, because production knives, there's only so much that you can get excited about, unless you're a guy that's literally a user of knives, a heavy user of knives, and then probably your fill of production knives will probably get you where you want to be and satisfy you. But for me, it just wasn't there. I was more into the art of these of knives. I was looking for something more. And when I found out that there was actually art involved in the creation of knives, that was the direction that I decided to go in. And that's the direction that I've decided to stay in. I don't have any qualms about, not getting into customs. It's just something that happens naturally. But I guarantee you, if you go with any one of these guys here as your first custom, or even this guy, you'll definitely you'll be just as satisfied with your experience. So that's it for this video, really. There really wasn't any new information that I'm giving you, other than if you're at a loss and you're looking to get your first custom, go with one of these guys. Again, let me shout out their names. This is Clyde Challenor. This is A2 Knives. You're probably going to go for this first. Keep in mind, all the knives on this table, with the exception of Chris Reeve, are over, they are definitely way over like 500 for any one of these. But think about how much money have you spent. That's the other thing too that I didn't get into. How much have you spent on production knives, right? I mean, this knife costs $240, and I'm glad to have it in my collection. But maybe you bought like 6-7 ZTs, right? If you think about it, for the price of two of these guys, you could probably go custom, right? So you don't necessarily have to go overboard, but if you do, I guarantee you'll be happy with it. Are you going to wind up like me with like 50 knives? Probably not. But at least you've got a knife that, at least you have an idea of what's out there as far as, as far as what a good high tolerance knife is. What you see here on the table is a perfect representation of it. So that's it for this video. I really didn't have much to say. I'm going to let you guys go. Again, you guys know I got some new stuff coming. I'm hoping like early July, maybe mid-July. So I'll be doing, new videos on new knives coming soon. My knife buying is kind of slowing down, I really can't continue down this road, man. I don't want to wind up like one of those guys that their credit cards get so maxed out, But nevertheless, I don't regret spending any of the money on any of the 50 pieces that I have in my collection. I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to continue. It's going to continue, because I know there's more South African knife makers out there that I have yet to discover, and even some non-South African knife makers that I have yet to discover, which I'm probably going to wind up doing next. But yeah. there you have it, custom knives, and you will be very happy with any one of the ones on the table if you decide to go with this route. So, honorable mentions, Chris Reeve, definitely consider him as your first goal into high quality, because he's kind of a confused market in a sense that he's not really custom. He's just the way I see Chris Reeve is a high tolerance. He's a really high tolerance knife, CNC machine, way better than what you could ever hope to get out of anything from ZT. And again, if you want to start off looking at it that way, this knife is $240. This one is $550, right? You know what I mean? It's like I don't know, maybe you're someone who's bought way too many knives that are in this price range when you can have a Chris Reeve. And, you can use this knife super heavy duty and then just ship it back to Chris Reeve Knives when it gets all dirty and dingy, and they'll clean it up for you. When I mean clean it up, they will literally make it look almost brand new. The only thing they don't work on are the inlays. They don't redo the inlays on the knives. But you'll see this knife scratchless. See how my knife has a scratch on it there from use, and they'll take the blade, they'll resharpen it. They'll do all the good things that needed to service your knife. They'll take care of that for you. So this may be the best route for you to go, but that's not to say you can't get that with any one of the guys that are here. All you got to do is ask them. So that's it for this video. I'll be doing another one soon, as soon as I can think of another topic. In the meantime, happy knife hunting, and I will see you guys next time.